Every day, thousands of ships carry the products we use. But have you ever wondered how one 82-kilometer waterway changed the global economy forever? Before the Panama Canal existed, any ship sailing from the Atlantic to the Pacific faced one of the most dangerous voyages in the world. They had to sail all the way around Cape Horn, the southernmost tip of South America, 11,000 kilometers out of the way. Cape Horn was known as the graveyard of ships. Violent storms, hurricane-force winds, waves reaching 20 meters high, fog so thick sailors could not see the bow of their own vessel. The journey added weeks, sometimes months, to every voyage. And the cost of moving goods between the two great oceans was enormous. But as global trade grew through the 19th century, the world began asking a question. What if there was a shortcut? By the mid-19th century, the world was changing fast. The Industrial Revolution had transformed how things were made and how they were moved. Railways were connecting entire continents. Global trade was growing at a pace history had never seen before. More goods meant more ships. More ships meant more voyages around Cape Horn. And more voyages meant more losses, in time, in cargo, and in lives. The California gold rush of 1848 made the problem impossible to ignore. The United States suddenly needed a fast, reliable connection between its Atlantic and Pacific coasts. A ship leaving New York for San Francisco still had to sail over 22,000 kilometers, around the entire continent of South America. The land between the two oceans, at its narrowest point in Panama, was only 80 kilometers wide. 80 kilometers. The idea was obvious. The challenge was everything else. In 1881, France made the first attempt. Ferdinand de Lesseps, the man who had built the Suez Canal, was convinced he could do it again. He arrived in Panama with ambition, capital, and a plan. But Panama was not Egypt. The jungle fought back. Malaria and yellow fever swept through the workforce. Thousands of workers died. Some estimates put the death toll as high as 22,000 men. The ground itself was treacherous. Massive landslides buried equipment and months of work overnight. By 1889, France had spent over $260 million and run out of both money and men. The project was abandoned. The United States saw an opportunity. In 1904, American engineers arrived with a new approach, not just to build a canal, but first to conquer the disease that had defeated the French. Dr. William Gorgas launched a massive mosquito eradication campaign. Yellow fever was eliminated. The path was clear. Over the next 10 years, 40,000 workers moved mountains, literally. They excavated over 230 million cubic meters of earth. They built the Gatun Dam, at the time the largest earth dam in the world, creating an enormous artificial lake. They engineered the locks, and on August 15, 1914, the SS Ancon made the first official transit of the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal does not simply cut through at sea level. The land in between sits higher than both oceans. So engineers solved an elegant problem with an elegant solution: the lock system. Here is how it works. A ship enters the first lock chamber at sea level. Massive steel gates, some weighing over 700 tons, close behind it. Then, water flows in from Gatun Lake through gravity alone. No pumps, no engines, just water. In minutes, the ship rises 8 to 9 meters, lifted by nothing but the weight of the water around it. The gates ahead open. The ship moves into the next chamber. The process repeats. 3 locks, 3 rises. The ship is now 26 meters above sea level, and it crosses Gatun Lake, the 425 square kilometer artificial lake at the heart of the canal. On the other side, the descent begins. Water drains out. The ship lowers, step by step, until it meets the Pacific Ocean. The entire transit takes between 8 and 12 hours, and the water that lifts and lowers each ship, it all flows by gravity alone. Not a single pump, just physics and patience. When the Panama Canal opened in 1914, the world's shipping map was redrawn overnight. A voyage from New York to San Francisco dropped from 22,000 kilometers to 9,000. Journey times collapsed, transportation costs fell, and the savings passed through every link of the global supply chain, from the factory to the port to the shelf in your local store. The canal did not just move goods faster, it changed which goods could be traded at all. Products that were too expensive to ship the long way, fresh fruit, heavy machinery, bulk raw materials, suddenly became viable across the Pacific and the Atlantic. By the mid-20th century, global trade had exploded. Container ships replaced old cargo methods. Ships got bigger, and the canal sat at the center of it all, connecting the manufacturing economies of Asia with the consumer markets of North America and Europe. Today, approximately 5% of all global seaborne trade passes through the Panama Canal every year. Over 13,000 ships make the transit annually. Goods worth around $370 billion flow through those 82 kilometers every single year. When you buy electronics made in China, components manufactured in South Korea, or fruit grown in Ecuador, there is a reasonable chance they passed through the Panama Canal to reach you. Over a century has passed since that first official transit in 1914, and the Panama Canal has never stopped working. Today, between 35 and 40 ships make the transit every single day. One ship every 40 minutes, around the clock, 365 days a year. The canal never closes, never pauses, never sleeps. But by the early 2000s, a problem was emerging. The world's container ships had grown so large they could no longer fit through the original locks. A new generation of vessels, the Neo-Panamax ships, were too wide, too long, too deep. Panama was at risk of becoming irrelevant. So Panama did what it had done once before. It expanded. In 2016, after 9 years of construction and a $5.4 billion investment, the expanded Panama Canal opened with new locks on both sides. Larger, more efficient, capable of handling ships carrying over 14,000 containers in a single transit. The Panama Canal today moves roughly 3% of all global GDP every year. It remains one of the most strategically important pieces of infrastructure on Earth and shows no signs of stopping. The Panama Canal is only 82 kilometers long, yet it changed the way the entire world trades. Sometimes, the projects that reshape history are not the largest, but the smartest. Not the most powerful, but the most precisely placed. One narrow cut through one narrow country, and the map of global commerce was redrawn forever. If you found this story worth your time, subscribe. There are more stories like this one waiting. The engineering decisions, the moments of vision, and the projects that quietly changed everything. We will see you in the next one.